Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I have a fun fold here for you. This card was inspired by a beautiful card I got from my friend Debbie Heilman. I had made a couple cards like this before in the past, but she really sparked, and that's using the new pansy patch. And so she just sparked my interest in just doing a neat one. And I wanted to look for something that would go in the middle there. And I went to the new Beauty of Friendship bundle. Gorgeous trees in here. And wait till you see how these, the foliage on the tops of those trees stamp. And it also comes with these great dies, and they are the Beautiful Trees dies. And I love these little birds, as you can see, that I put here on this card. I just want super simple here, just to let the beauty of nature come out. So let's get started on how we're going to make this card. I'm using new in colors that'll be around for 2 years now. They just came out 2021 and they'll be around till 2023. And I decided to use the dark evening evergreen. And then this color here is the new soft succulent. So what I decided to do on the card we're gonna make on the video is I'm just changing up the colors, using the same colors but changing up the design. Now I'm using the new in color 6x6 designer series paper. They come 6x6. They have the kind of the, what will we call that? A gingham type with flower on the other side. And then this neat geometric design with some, you could make them horizontal or vertical. So that comes in 40 sheets of it, 10 sheets of each color. You've got the polished pink and the fresh freesia and the pale papaya as well. So what we're gonna do is use the soft succulent as the card base. And this card base is just a half sheet of our cardstock. You just take an 8.5 by 5.5 and score it at 4 1/4, and that'll be the card base. Now the outside here, and all the measurements and the products I use are in the YouTube description underneath the video, but you can also in that description see, visit my blog here. You press that link, it'll take you right over to CindyLeeBDesigns.com, and you'll find additional photos and information you might need to make this card. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put this, and I'm going to be using my adhesive. That was the one thing I didn't bring out here. This one is going down to the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is first put some adhesive on the back of my, you're not going to believe this, but every one of my tape runners is empty, and I started this video just thinking about that, so I thought, well, I'll just use my glue, but I think all my glues are empty too. So let's see if we can get through here. Okay, so you're going to put your adhesive just like kind of along the sides of the card. As you can see, we're going to be cutting out this circle here, so just kind of don't have your adhesive around that middle section right there. So we're going to adhere this to the front of our card, leaving a 1/8 inch border the whole way around. And I do love working with Tombow. Even though it is a really permanent adhering to the card, it gives you that little bit of wiggle room. I always say wiggle worm. Okay, so we've got that on there. Now the one thing you're going to want to be careful of is we are going to open our card to cut this circle out, and we'll be using our layering circles, and I'm using the largest and the next to the largest, but you're going to cut with the next to the largest, not the largest one. The largest one we're going to use to make a border on the outside of the card. But whenever you're doing this, you're going to want to make sure that your card is open. How many times have I cut through? But you also don't want this to get all marred and scratched up from your acrylic plate. So just either use a newer acrylic plate that doesn't have very much etching on it, or you can also put a piece of like copy paper or something that's not going to pick up that, so that you don't get a yucky looking inside. So I'm just going to use some of this purple tape here. I just got this online, and just take a little of the adhesive, and it'll just give a temporary adhesive because you really do want this to stay in place when you run it through. So there we go. And I'm just gonna put a little piece of tape right there. Now I have my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine super close to me right now today, but it would be a major mishap if I hold it up on the table. So here we go. We end up, see, I don't have a marred up inside because I have a clean plate there. And then I'm just gonna pull out this, and look, you're gonna end up having, oh, actually I did get a little glue on the outside, but you're gonna end up being able to use that piece. Ha, now had I not got a little glue there, you're also gonna use this to cut your birds out. So no waste. So we'll take this circle out. Now this is going to be the outside of the card, and as you can see, we're gonna put in the white here. But we're gonna go ahead and put this circle border here. Now to create the border, the best way I find to do that is I cut the smaller circle first, okay? So I put that down first. That would be the circle that you cut the front with. Cut that. Now, the next thing you do, like you could try to die cut these like right around each other, or you could die cut the circle and then put the bigger one around it. But I find cut the bigger one and then put the smaller one in. But my best way of getting a really perfect, close to perfect, is I cut the smaller one first, then I just come back, saving that piece there, and then I just put the larger one around it. Now you can see I'm creating that small border there. I, again, tape it in place, run it through my embossing machine, cutting and embossing machine, and then I end up with this nice little skinny border there. So on this card, like I said, this is the largest layering circle and the next to the largest layering circle there. You could also use your scallop, but I just kind of want to make this nice and clean, maybe masculine without that scallop. So now the next thing you're going to do is find out which glue I was using and just put a tiny bit of glue. And this is a good time to have your silicone mat here, because that's whenever you end up getting a little bit of glue on things. And yes, I do try to protect my pretty little paper, grid paper here, but really, how annoying is it when you get it all over your craft surface? Now I did find, I get all these little, I call them little cardstock tags, skin tags. So we're going to put this around that circle, but I found that on this one, I kind of had to stretch it a little bit. It just, I mean, it's the right size, but you might just find yourself, I'm gonna pull this out of the way so I can just see. And then just adhere that around, and then you have a beautiful border there. And like I said, you can make this any size you want, and think about a smaller circle and a bigger. So this one just worked out nicely to have this border of just about match the border around the outside. So there's the outside of our card. So then this inside, you are just going to take, I have a little bit of, there we go. Sometimes on your trimmer you'll get a little bit of that bending of the paper. I just take my fingernail, or you can take your bone folder and smooth it out. Now this piece of the white inside, the basic white, is 8 inches by, well, 8 inches scored at 4, and this is 5 1/4. That's so that you end up having that border around there. But this is going to open to the opposite side that your card opens. So you open this way, you open this way, and then you open this way, okay? So what we're gonna do before we do that is what I did is I used my Stamparatus here. Okay, so I'm not gonna take this off of here, but I took my card and I didn't adhere it, but I put it into the place where I thought it would be good, and I closed it. Then I took my photopolymer stamp and I put it on here as if I was stamping it, and then it stuck to my paper. I opened this up, and then I put that white in, making sure that I'm opening it so the open side is going towards this side here, so that you're opening it this way. So I put it into my Stamparatus, and then I inked this up and stamped it down onto this surface here. Now on this card, this looks like two-step stamping. It was one stamp. This one I used the Evening Evergreen, but I thought I'm just gonna try, just for the sake of it, so we have some variety. I'm going to use the Soft Succulent on this one and just see how it turns out. So opening up, and I was a little messy today, and I got some dust on my ink pad, so I just pull it off. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is put my ink pad down there. I'm going to stick my stamp case underneath this acrylic plate. It just gives me a stable surface there to work with. Try not to make you guys too dizzy. New ink pad, nicely juicy. We'll see how it turns out. Now I'm going to make this up in the corner here, and I'm going to stamp down that image. You can already see from what I'm doing how it has an etching into it, and it looks like I stamped a lighter green with a darker green on top, and you can do that with this stamp set. This stamp set does have, you could stamp this on top of this and this on top of this and give it like 3 shades, but you don't even have to do that. You can just literally, I just want to clean this off. Of course, my chamois is packed because I was stamping downstairs when my granddaughter was here, and I had it packed away. My husband always goes, "Oh, were you commuting to work?" I said, "Yes, I'm going from the loft down to the kitchen." So because little Miss is down there, and we have her little playpen set up there, because if I brought her up here, he knows I'd never be back down. So I'm going to pull out my pierce mat. Now I have 2 of these. One you can see I did piercing with, and one I keep nice and clean so that I can, actually I'm not gonna, yeah I am gonna need it because I'm using a photopolymer, even though I have a red rubber under there. Now I'm going to now stamp the tree base on there, and I decided to use soft suede for my tree trunk, my tree base. I'm talking in terms of stamping. And I noticed, look here, big mistake there. Always check your blocks for any extraneous ink. You don't want to create any shadows. And then I'm just going to put that right on my card base right there. Look at that, gorgeous. And then we are, now notice how much lighter that will dry. Okay, so that is the tree that goes in, that you can end up seeing. Look how pretty that, oh, that looks so, see the difference in those 2 greens? Oh, they pair so beautiful together. You can even see with the designer paper and the cardstock. So then I decided to do a little decorating on the inside as well. And as you can see, I just used the smaller tree foliage at the top. What do you call that? The crown of the tree, right? So where is that crown? Okay, so we are going to use that same soft succulent, and I'm just going to ink up that. And you know what? I should actually do the sentiment first. Okay, should we just do, I think we're going to do the sentiment as well. What did I do the sentiment in? No, I'm going to do the sentiment in the evergreen on the inside, and I'm just going to cheat and use the same sentiment here because I think it goes well with the one I'm going to put on the front of this one. Friendships refresh the soul. And then photopolymers make it so easy to keep things straight. Stamp that on the inside. There we go. And then I want to do my tree, so I'm going to put my tree right there. And I'm also going to do the tree trunk in the soft suede. We'll see if that soft suede on the front ends up. Now this one's going to come a little bit off of here. So let me get a little piece of scratch paper here. Put under here so I don't mess up my mat. And this one you end up with a little more of the trunk showing and the branches up in the tree. There you go. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, you can see how much lighter that's already drying. Drying. Okay, so there is our card. So we're going to pop my Pierce mat over there. And then I'm going to adhere this to the inside of the card. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue. Make sure you're doing it on the correct part. I wanna put it on this side here. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue in these corners. Believe me, I participate in a lot of swaps, and when you do this with the glue, it shows up when it gets mailed to you after it goes through the postal machines, even if it's hand canceled. It just goes, these cards go through the war. So now we have these 4 corners. You could also put a cute sentiment in here as well. And look how cute that is. Now, this card, I use these cute little bird dies. And another thing, in this set has a huge tree in here, which you can die cut the foliage as well, and a smaller tree. Now, it also has these 2 great dies here. And when I find a die that's going to fit, actually, I was just looking at a new stamp set that I ordered this morning that kind of reminds me of the teeny tiny wishes and the itty bitty greetings that left us. And I said, oh, but we don't have the classic label punch anymore. But we have this die and this die in here. So this is gonna coordinate. Well, I wish I could think of what that stamp set is. I'll post it in the blog post, but it's gonna be great using those 2 dies. So yes, I have been known to be drawn to a die set just because I know it can cut out a sentiment for me. So what I did on this one is I decided to use where's the stamp set? Oh, here we go. I decided to use the Thinking of You that gets die cut with this long, narrow die here. And so, going with the theme of the card, I just put on this soft, succulent band. And this one is 5/8 of an inch because I measured this and this was 3/8. So I just went up 1/8 of an 1/8 on each side. And then I just kind of eyeball, so I have about the same amount in between the bottom and use the grid as my eyes here. There we go. About the same amount of space there. And then I'm gonna put this cute little sentiment in there. Pick that up and get some multi-purpose adhesive in there. Try to center that the best I can underneath the circle. And then I thought I would just put some little birds here. So what I did is I used my mini dimensionals. Get my take your pick tool here. Get a mini dimensional. Pop it on the back of one birdie. And another little birdie. And then I'm just gonna take the backing off of that. I'm gonna put one little bird up in the corner here facing. I love that these birds are opposite facing. That makes it, you know, how many times you're making something and you're like, oh, I wish this was on the other side. And then I think I'll just put her, I could put her there and him there. So super simple cards, but I like the simplicity of this card. Just the geometric shapes, the simplicity, just the stamp and the fact that it does that two-tone look to it just dresses this card up immensely. And then you just go in there and you've got your sentiment. Ta-da, I love it. So this new bundle is now available. No more saying that it's coming out. It is now available. And when you buy it as a bundle, you get a 10% discount on the stamp set and the dies. So if you bought this separate or this separate, but you buy them together, you're getting a 10% discount on each one of these. So the Beauty of Friendship bundle, beautiful trees dies. It has a gorgeous designer series paper that goes with it too. So check that out. I'm really loving this new designer series paper in the new in colors. So make sure you pop over to my blog, look at additional photos and any little tidbits I have to show you. If you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can always text me or call me at 724-323-2296. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.